Welcome to this webinar of the Games in Schools course on the European Schoolnet Academy. A very warm welcome to everyone who has joined the webinar from all across Europe. I'm sitting here in the Future Classroom Lab in Brussels, Belgium, at the offices of European Schoolnet. And it's my pleasure to welcome tonight a colleague of ours here at European Schoolnet who's actually a Future Classroom Ambassador, the Norwegian Future Classroom Ambassador, Jorunn Høie Skaug. So also with me, just for your information, I've got my colleague Nair, who will be helping you out also in the chat and as we progress through the webinar. Now, if you have any questions, please post them in the chat. We won't be opening the microphones on the webinar, but we will be collecting any questions, any comments that you have in the chat, and we will relay those to Jorunn to answer as we progress through the webinar and at the end for the question and answer session. Now, let me briefly introduce you, Jorunn. Jorunn is working for the Norwegian Center for ICT in Education. He has a master's in media studies, and he's been involved with quite a few projects at the level of European Schoolnet, most recently with the work at the Future Classroom Lab and the Future Classroom Lab Network. So I believe, Jorunn, you actually have your own Future Classroom Lab in Norway. That's where you're also involved in. And then also for those of you who were involved in the European Schoolnet Academy course called the Future Classroom Scenarios course, which was linked to the ITEC project, that is also a project that Jorunn was involved in. Well, it's a pleasure to have him on this course today, talking about a topic that is all over the news really at the moment. If you're following tech in some form or way, it's impossible to not find out about virtual or augmented reality. And this is really the year of all the big virtual reality devices coming out from all the big companies. And with companies like Facebook investing heavily in this, there is definitely lots of potential for this becoming quite a big game changer. To be seen in the world of education, but definitely in the world of entertainment. And the question, of course, is as part of this, will this play a role in schools? And will it be feasible without lots of money to implement in schools? So it's a real pleasure to have this very relevant and highly current webinar from Jorunn here today, using virtual reality in your classroom, even without expensive equipment. So without further ado, I would like to pass over to Jorunn, who will now take you through some of the key ideas behind virtual reality in education. And as I mentioned before, if you have any questions, any comments, anything that you'd like Jorunn to react to, please post them into the chat. And Nair and myself will be relaying that to Jorunn as we progress through the webinar. So, without further ado, enjoy. And Jorunn, I'll pass you over now the presenter rights.
Yeah, okay. Okay, let me see. I got the host role, but I cannot seem to make the next slide come here, Benjamin. Is it possible to fix that? I'm trying to get the next slide working here.
Sure, just give me a second. I'll just quickly take the presenter rights back, see what's going on here. Jorunn, can you see your first slide now?
I can see my first slide, yeah. Okay. So I can always get you to present the slide as well. We're on. Okay, thanks. It's working. Great.
Excellent. Let's go.
Okay. Thank you very much, Benjamin. I have these two pictures here at the start of my presentation, because I think these two pictures say something important about the state of virtual reality at the moment. On the one hand, virtual reality is a mind-bending technology, or perhaps a medium, which can let magic happen. That is the picture on the left. The picture on the other hand, the picture on the right, the low side, is more in hand with how the situation with virtual reality is in education and in classrooms at the moment. So this is the actual state of reality. There is less technology involved, it's more messy, but it's still fun and exciting. Lots of possibilities for educators. So I guess I will be talking mostly about the situation on the right here, and hopefully give you some ideas of how you can implement VR in your classroom. I'm just going to tell you a little bit about the Norwegian Center for ICT in Education before we start. As Benjamin mentioned, we have two future classroom labs in Norway, in Tromsø and Oslo, where I am at the moment. The ICT Center is an executive agency directly under the Norwegian Ministry of Education and Research, and we have been in business since 2010, and we are about 80 employees. And at the moment, there is me and 3 colleagues of mine who work with games, coding, and technologies such as virtual reality. So let's start with a definition of virtual reality. This definition here is good, I think. It says that VR is a computer technology that replicates an environment, real or imagined, and simulates a user's physical presence and environment to allow for user interaction. So virtual realities artificially create sensory experience, which can include sight, touch, hearing, and smell. In other words, this is not augmented reality. I would say that augmented reality is like the app Aurasma or the Microsoft HoloLens, which will perhaps be on sale at some point in the future. But still, virtual reality is closely tied to augmented reality. In this spectrum below the picture of a guy using the Oculus Rift here, we have an interesting spectrum called mixed reality. This can be a little bit confusing because augmented reality is on the one side of the spectrum, and virtual reality is on the right hand of the spectrum, with VR, virtual reality, here called augmented reality. It's a whole other webinar to speak about augmented reality. So I will not be doing that today. I will concentrate mostly on virtual reality. So VR is where you are put into an environment, 3D, life-size environment without the boundaries which we usually associate with TV or computer screens. So whichever way you look, in every direction, you have the screen mounted to your face which follows you. So this is not like augmented reality, which overlays graphics onto your view of the real world. So what is so special about VR, and why should you use it in the classroom? I guess the key word here is presence, being the feeling like you are there. This is very difficult to describe if you have not tried VR. but the environment feels very real, even though you can see the pixels on screen, and even though you very well know that you have your feet safely planted in your office or in a museum or wherever. But still, your mind tricks you to have this sense of presence, which, of course, is a very powerful thing in education. This is not very unlike other kinds of simulations we already use in education, but there's another level of interaction and immersive kind of experiencing multimedia content, be it educational or not educational. And I think another important part of building understanding of how VR can be used in education is according to neuroscience. According to neuroscience, when we learn about something which catches our curiosity, our brain releases the neurotransmitter dopamine, which makes us more attentive. It improves our ability to remember stuff. So this curiosity, which we perhaps can feel when we are in VR, leads us to remember everything better, not just the specific things about which we are curious. I guess some people call VR a new kind of medium. Some people call it a technology. We don't know for sure yet if it is a technology or a medium best suited for games or other types of content. I guess we are very much still in the early days of VR. But as Benjamin said a few minutes ago, this is the year where a lot of stuff will happen with VR being sold to the public. So I think we have some exciting times ahead of us in education as well. So at this point, I would like to ask you about your own experiences with VR. I guess some of you have experiences with VR in some form, be it cardboard or Oculus Rift or other. So we're going to do a little poll here. So I would like to ask you what your experiences with VR is at this point. So I'm going to put the presenter's role back to Benjamin. You already got it? Yeah?
Yeah, thank you. And
Okay.
actually a post, right? So I've just taken them back.
Yeah.
So yes, as Johan mentioned, we'll be launching a short poll now with the question that is on this slide. So you should now be able to provide your answer. Answers are already coming in, so this is a very quick question. So let's say another 20 seconds or so. Great, only 7 more of you haven't replied yet. So last chance, share what experience level you have with virtual reality. That will help you on to identify further aspects in his presentation. So if you haven't yet responded to the survey, please still do so now. Last chance. Okay, and I'll close the poll. So this usually takes just a few seconds, and then you should be seeing the results of the poll in a moment.
Okay.
And it's in fact quite an interesting result. So here we go. You should be able to see it now.
Okay. Okay, that's interesting. That's very interesting. Thank you. Okay. Thank you, Benjamin. Okay, so only a few of you have any previous experiences with VR. I guess that most of you are kind of curious about VR technology and would like to test it at your school or perhaps privately in your home at some point. I'm going to talk about different types of VR in the next few minutes, and perhaps give you some ideas to where you can get your experiences with VR. So many of you will have heard of the three big players in VR. HTC Vive and Oculus Rift and PlayStation. The PlayStation VR will
Johan,
be released.
sorry, just quickly to interject there. Unfortunately, the connection dropped at your end, so I don't think, at least at our end, we didn't hear what you just said. So if you could just briefly repeat that. On top of that, there are a couple of comments in the chat suggesting people have an issue in sending messages to all participants in the chat. So I'm just going to quickly check that, but I need to take back the presenter rights to do that. So please continue, but in the meantime, you won't be able to continue with the slide. So I'll be passing on the presenter privileges.
All right.
Yes.
Okay, so we're back at the poll. Yep. Yes. I guess many of you will have heard about the three big players in virtual reality. HTC Vive and Oculus Rift have released their VR systems already, and the PlayStation VR will release their products this autumn. These three big players all have a very high presence in their products. The VR experiences have a very good quality with pictures and sound. The downside is that they are all quite expensive. You have to buy a head-mounted display, which will cost you from 400 euros and upwards. You will need a PS4 or an expensive PC. So buying one of these systems will set you back quite a lot of money. And I think none of these systems are really feasible in education at the moment. That might be a situation in a couple of years when the prices drop and things will have a more mature market. But at the moment, I would not advise any schools or teachers buying the Vive, the Oculus Rift, or the PlayStation VR for using in the classroom. At least not at the moment. So, Benjamin, I can present the next slide now. Yes? Okay. So
you've got presenter rights again back.
Yeah, great. So a very good alternative to these expensive systems is the Samsung Gear VR glasses. The Samsung Gear VR is a very good mobile virtual reality system. It does not have the same high quality of the picture as the Oculus Rift or the HTC Vive, but still you get a quite good picture from the Samsung Gear VR, and there are quite a lot of good content in a well-curated app store. It's very much plug and play. There is no cables involved. The cons about the Samsung Gear VR is that this will only work with certain Samsung smartphones, and those smartphones can be a bit expensive as well. Only the glasses will cost you about 150 euros. So if you are the owner of a Samsung Galaxy S6 or S7 phone and do have a budget to buy a Samsung Gear VR, there is a lot of good educational content as well on the Samsung Gear VR. A couple of weeks ago, they actually released a version of Minecraft for virtual reality, working with the Samsung Gear VR. It's kind of a magic experience to walk around in a Minecraft world in virtual reality when you have the blocky Minecraft worlds all around you in your field of view. It's really beautiful and very fun to do, at least as a kind of tech demo. There's also a couple of good games involved on the Samsung Gear. If any one of you are familiar with the mobile game Monument Valley, the creators of Monument Valley have created a very beautiful, meditative, relaxing game called Land's End, which is by far one of the most beautiful experiences I have had in virtual reality. It's a really beautiful game. It's really slow. There's some puzzle solving involved, but they are not too difficult, and you can finish the game in 2 or 3 hours. And you will never get nauseous. You will kind of want to be in this beautiful world for quite a while. So, Land's End and Minecraft are two standout titles for the Samsung Gear VR. And as I mentioned, there is also some educational content with the Samsung Gear VR. There's this app, for instance, which is called Unimersive. They call themselves a learning platform for VR. And they have released their product on the Samsung Gear VR and the Oculus Rift. I tried it yesterday and got a little trip to the International Space Station and a little trip to Stonehenge. And the quality of the educational material was quite okay. So if you are the owner of Samsung Gear VR, I would very much advise you to try out this app. And they will release more content over the next few months. So this is an interesting app to follow. So we have some experiences with virtual reality in Norwegian schools from the last 2 years. Some of you may have heard about the game Euro Truck Simulator, which is basically what the title says. You drive a truck, a big, huge truck, around the roadways of Europe, and you have to move your truck quite slowly, and you have to move it quite safely. You have to reach your destination with your cargo. A teacher at Nord-Gudbrandsdal Upper Secondary School made his students hack this game a little bit and mounted steering wheels and pedals for the game and connected it to an Oculus Rift. So as you can see on the picture on the left here, there's a student driving a truck. This is students doing vocational training, so they might be truck drivers someday. So he is driving his truck on a road somewhere in Europe, and having pedals and a steering wheel connected to the experience feels very real for them. Actually, the teacher told me that when it started to rain in the game, one of the students just felt that he had to lean outside the window like this just to see if it rained on his face. So the teacher told me that he really wanted to have a bucket of water just to pour over his head. So I guess that explains some of the magic in the VR. It feels very real, and what you have here is more or less a driving simulator, which is very immersive, very fun, and very exciting. But of course, this being done with an Oculus Rift and quite heavily spec'd PC, it's not very feasible for most schools. On the other hand, we do have some examples which I think may be used in schools which don't have a budget. There is an app available for Android mobile phones and the Oculus Rift called Titans of Space. This is a short guided tour of a few planets and stars. And the point is to give the player a sense of scale, of just how big these planets and stars in the solar system are compared to each other. And it's a really breathtaking, beautiful experience to fly among the planets and among the stars in the solar system. This can be done with cardboard viewers, which I will be talking a little bit more about in a few minutes. But basically, cardboard virtual reality is an inexpensive little cardboard thing like this, with a couple of lenses in it, where you put your mobile phone. So what the teacher did here, this is made by a teacher called Adrian Tallerås from Groruddalen Secondary School in Oslo. He made a little game for Titans of Space, because at this point there's not very many educational games available in VR. If you want to game something in VR in the classroom, you may have to construct the game yourself. Like Mr. Tallerås did here, he created a presentation in English, which is available for you. You can have the presentation after the webinar and replicate his presentation if you want to. And he made a quiz in the quiz tool Kahoot, which can be done in groups of students. I can see that he organized groups of 2 or 3 students based on the number of Android phones in the classroom. This app is unfortunately not available for iPhones, only for Android and the Oculus Rift. But if you do have a couple of smartphones with Android, this is a very good app for showing the potential of virtual reality in education at the moment. So virtual reality with cardboard viewers is a very simple way to experience virtual reality in the classroom. Cardboard viewers are very cheap. You can buy them from maybe 10 euros and upwards. So I would say that these are actually scalable for classroom use, if students can use their own smartphones, that is. Because you will need a couple of smartphones with Android or iOS. If you do have a few smartphones, you will need maybe a couple of these cardboard viewers, which you can buy at tech stores, on the internet, Amazon and eBay. What they do is that they split the screen into a stereoscopic image, which is sensed in our brain as a 3D environment. Of course, the quality of the experiences are considerably lower than on a proper VR system. But still, this is a very good way to introduce yourself or your students to virtual reality. So I would recommend that if you have a fairly new smartphone, you should buy one of these cardboard viewers, and you can do a search in Google Play or App Store for VR or virtual reality, and see for yourself what kind of content you will find. We have actually made a little list with our curated list of apps for educators, which I will present to you here. If you do have a QR reader on your phone, you can use the QR reader on the screen at the moment, and you will find our list of about 30 or 35 apps for Google Play and iOS. Most of them are free, Paying for the content is seldom necessary when it comes to cardboard viewers and mobile virtual reality. Of course, this link can be sent to you in the chat after we finish as well. If you don't have a QR reader, I will send the link to Benjamin so he can put it in the chat in a while. In the list of apps here, you will find some educational content, some non-educational, a few games, quite simple games, a few horror apps, which I guess can be quite scary in VR. So you should not use those in the classroom before you have tested them yourselves and are certain about your students can handle it. This app is very interesting when it comes to education in VR. This is from an app for the App Store and the Google Play called Guardian VR. This is the British newspaper Guardian's first attempt to make virtual reality content. So you can search for Guardian VR app. So this app here is called 6x9. That is the size of the cell you will find yourself in this experience. This is a virtual experience of solitary confinement. And solitary confinement is a situation about 80,000 people in the United States face in jail. They can be in solitary confinement for days, weeks, perhaps months, even years from time to time. And this app recreates what it is like to be in a solitary confinement over time. So it's a very immersive experience and a very creepy experience because you can feel for yourself how it is to be locked into this cell for a long time. I won't spoil the experience for you, but of course it will happen other stuff than just staring at the wall here. There will be some multimedia content, some facts, and I think this app could easily be used in, say, social sciences or learning about jail systems around the world. I think this is a very interesting example of virtual reality journalism. Virtual reality is very much about games, but it's also very much about other kinds of experiences, which this experience shows very neatly. There's a big potential for pictures, 360 pictures and video, and even for classic journalism or features. So this app is a very nice example of what you can do with cardboard in your classroom. And in the App Store and the Google Play, there's also a couple of other apps I would recommend. The New York Times made their own virtual reality app a few months ago and actually sent out cardboard viewers to all people buying the paper. So I think maybe 1 million or 1.5 million people got a cardboard viewer in the post along with this app. There's also a good app called Jaunt VR, and there's an app called VRSE, which is all about storytelling in virtual reality. In these apps, you will find different contents like news features, there's short films, there's animated films, and some of the stories, some of the films are quite good, and these are all free. So they are absolutely recommended, all of them. You will also find VRSE and Jaunt VR in the Samsung Gear VR. So as I mentioned, there is not very many games for cardboard viewers which are educational at the moment. But still, there are a lot of free apps, at least mostly free apps, which may be used in the classroom. I think students who have not any previous experiences with VR will find games like these fun and engaging. They're all very simple games. You might have to shoot a couple of zombies. You may have to move inside a body to see what's happening at the cell structures. There's even also an app called Romans for Mars, in which you will meet Romans only from Mars. So these are mostly free games, and I can easily imagine them being used in the classroom. And as I mentioned, there are some very good horror experiences for virtual reality. And I would say that these apps are not for the faint-hearted. Because, as I mentioned earlier, the sense of presence is what virtual reality is all about. And of course, these experiences, Sisters 1157 and Insidious Chapter 3, will try to scare you and use the presence to scare you maybe even a bit more than when you watch horror in the films or on a TV set. So these are not for the faint-hearted. They might not be very well suited for the classroom, but if you do enjoy a horror film, I would absolutely recommend that you try one of these, but they can be quite scary. So you have been warned. There are also some very good books about virtual reality universes. I think my favorite is this book here by Ernest Cline. This is from 2011. Ready Player One is a young adult novel. The tagline here says, Willy Wonka meets the Matrix. I think that says it all. It is a very good read, even though it's for young readers. And it will be a feature film with Steven Spielberg directing. I think the film will be released in a year or two. So this is a very good read about how a virtual reality universe or metaverse can play out sometime in the future. So to wrap things up a bit, I will just shortly mention some of my thoughts about where VR and AR will be in a few years, perhaps in the education sector. So we have this mixed reality spectrum I showed you earlier, with augmented reality and virtual reality on each side of the spectrum. I think that in a few years it might be possible and feasible and perhaps very fun and motivating to have students create virtual reality or augmented reality content themselves. This is already possible to do with 3D animation with the Unity and similar. There's also a couple of apps and some cameras which can shoot video and stills in 360 degrees. I think that the big expensive VR systems will trigger a few arcades around the roads. Immersive arcades with haptic feedback from those, from the environment. It will be something between an old arcade and a modern amusement park, where you are transported to different worlds, and perhaps you will fight dragons, perhaps you will fight Martians, perhaps you will travel in time in those kinds of arcades. I'm just speculating now. I think that this might be a situation in some big European cities a few years from now on, but this is just me speculating, really. And one thing I am pretty certain of is that virtual reality and augmented reality will get social in a few years. Facebook has already bought Oculus Rift, and Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook is very clear in his goal of making Oculus Rift and virtual reality as the next social platform for Facebook and perhaps other players in the social media world. And it might be that augmented reality technologies will make us have a different workflow from today. We might do a lot of the things we are doing at our computers now with augmented reality glasses. But then again, this is just me speculating a little bit. But I am pretty certain that VR and AR will get social at some point. So if you got a little bit of inspiration from this webinar, I'm just gonna wrap things up with a few advices for using VR in the classrooms. Do use headsets, because sound is a very important factor in VR experiences. You have to use headsets to get immersive experiences. I hope I have made myself clear that you can have these immersive experiences with cheap cardboard viewers. You do not have to have an Oculus Rift or a PlayStation VR system to let your students have immersive experiences. But do use headsets. Some VR experiences can be quite nauseating for some people. The roller coaster apps and experiences are a classic example of where you can feel nausea in VR. If you or your students should feel any nausea, you should quit immediately. You can take a break. It's not dangerous. It's more like you are a little bit seasick, but things will pass quite quickly if you just remove the glasses and stay away from VR a little bit. But as far as I know, there's no dangers involved in VR whatsoever, apart from that some experiences can be a bit nauseous. You should use a spinning chair if you do have spinning chairs. An alternative is to stand up with the VR glasses on, because you have to look around the environment, and if you have a spinning chair, it's a little bit easier. So you should have a fairly new smartphone for cardboard VR. An iPhone 4 or 4S might be a little bit too old for some experiences. If you have, say, iPhone 5 or newer, I think that most cardboard VR experiences will be handled okay by the phone. So this was my presentation, and I would be happy to take any questions from you, if you have any.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Johan, for that very interesting and enlightening presentation with some very concrete ideas or tips and tricks and tools to use there in the classroom. There were a couple of questions that have come in, and also some colleagues have been sharing some quite interesting links. So, Johan, if you have a moment, do take a quick look on that. One very practical question is from Ben Bastiansen, who's asking, are there also virtual reality apps for Windows Phone? Because he noticed that in the Google document that you have, there's no column for Windows Phone. Are you aware of anything in that area?
There are possibly VR experiences for a Windows Phone as well. I'm not aware of them because I do not have a Windows Phone myself, and I am not familiar with the Windows App Store for mobile. So I have used the App Store and the Google Play App Stores to search for VR content. I'm certain that there should be some experiences for Windows Phone users as well. I guess my best advice then is to just search for VR or virtual reality in the Windows Store or whatever app store you are in, and there might be some VR content there as well. But I think that most of the VR content will be in the App Store or the Google Play Store.
Okay, thanks for that, Johan. I just did a quick Google search on this, and Ben, I think I'm quite sure you've done that previously as well. But I came across this Reddit thread here where it talks about this, and it suggests that there's a Google Cardboard virtual reality app on the Windows Phone, so that might be a way into this. And great, and I can see that Ben, you're actually not the only Windows Phone user. So great. Okay, another question that that was coming in here, and I'm also wondering about that is have you encountered any criticism or worries from parents maybe or from other educators about the use of this? As you said, it's very immersive. It could be even considered too immersive if you think about some of these horror apps. I mean, there are some concerns about this also in the entertainment sector. Is that something that you have come across already in the education sector with colleagues or parents?
No, I haven't. That's maybe because virtual reality is kind of a new thing still. But so far I have not met any worried parents or worried teachers which have warned about the dangers of VR. I guess that at the moment when we are at a point where only cardboard virtual reality is a possible scenario in the classroom, it will not be that different from viewing a film or a clip on YouTube, really. I think that some of the horror experiences made for the Oculus Rift or the PlayStation VR should perhaps not be used in school because people could get very scared. And I do know that in the tech industry, there are some people talking about the dangers of actually hurting people in virtual reality with torture or by actually scaring them really sick, or it's possible that you could get such a level of immersion that you could actually kill people with a heart attack. Well, that might happen someday, I'm not sure. At the moment, I don't think virtual reality is more dangerous than any other media content, really. But there is a discussion in the industry of how where the limits should be. How much should you scare people if you actually can get them so immersed that they get in physical danger. So that might be a problem in the future. Should be.
Okay, thanks. Really interesting there. I think, as you said, if this is a discussion in the industry, I'm sure this will be soon a discussion in the education world as soon as this becomes a bit more prevalent in use in the education world. So it's good to start thinking about these things as early as possible when these type of questions, challenges, etc., come towards educators starting to use this. Okay, Ben has posted another interesting question. Johan, are you aware of any good sites to order cardboards for smartphones? And maybe a link to that, are you aware of any communities, online communities, where educators exchange specifically about virtual reality in the classrooms, or any other interesting links that you can flag up there?
Well, I do not have any links at the moment, but I do know that there is a community for teachers who use Google Cardboard viewers. And Google has little projects of setting up cardboard labs around the world with content specifically made for classrooms. So if you should take a look at the net yourself, I would say that perhaps Google Cardboard education VR or similar that might lead you to a Google Teacher community of cardboard users. But so far, there's no places on the internet I'm aware of that where teachers discuss virtual reality. But Google Cardboard and their projects might be the best way to search.
Okay, and maybe an opportunity to actually start such a community at national or even European level, if nothing big is out there already. And do you have any tips on how to best to order these Google Cardboards? Is there a good place to go?
There are a lot of places to go, really. I think that if you do a search for Google Cardboard or Cardboard VR, you will probably get a dozen links to different places where these cardboard sets are sold. They can, the quality of the cardboard viewers can vary wildly. So my advice would be to find one cardboard viewer which seems okay, buy that and buy some more if the quality is okay. But I think that a lot of tech stores and hardware stores do stock these cardboard viewers. So I think you can just take a walk in the city and find a shop where you can try this for yourselves. But there's cardboard viewers on the Amazon store, on the eBay, and there are lots of cardboards available. So maybe you should not buy the cheapest one. Maybe somewhere on the medium price range will get you proper cardboard viewer.
Okay, excellent. Again, thanks. Really interesting. And maybe also a comment on that from my side. I know, and it links to what you already said, Johan. In Germany, there were quite a few magazines, tech magazines, who actually put who included a cardboard in their magazine. So if you go into a news store where you can buy the newspaper, that might also be a place where you can find some of these. Yeah, definitely shouldn't be a problem, but really good advice there to maybe try out first with one before you order a batch of them. There was a question from Rehan coming in, and Rehan, if you hear this, please post these questions in the chat and not in the Q&A section, so other people can see this as well. But it's a really interesting question, or a good question to Johan. Do you have a blog or anything where the participants here can follow any of your experiences as this progresses?
Well, I do post blogs from time to time on the Future Classroom Lab blog. If you just give me a few seconds, I can get the link to the blog and post it in the chat. Let's see, it's right here.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, just a moment. Here's the chat. So I posted a link to a blog post on the Future Classroom Lab blog where I discuss some of the things we have talked about here today, and a few other apps as well. And you will also find the links to the Titans of Space learning story and the quiz and our list of apps for educators in that blog post.
Okay, excellent. And that's a blog that's, I think, I'm sure, quite useful for many people to follow either way. So make sure you take a look there to follow your own story and some stories from other Future Classroom Lab ambassadors as well. And I just quickly, before we have to close, unfortunately, in a few minutes, but I do quickly want to pick up this question that Ben already mentioned earlier, and then is flagged up again by Radhika. This is about existing scientific research or just generally the theoretical background behind the concept. Is there anything that you could point to there or you're aware of?
About the scientific background, or
I mean, have there been any maybe pilot studies done with VR in education? Is there any? Are you aware of anything?
I'm not aware of any studies in the education sector, but of course, virtual reality has been used in scientific communities for many years before this virtual reality revolution, which is happening at the moment. Virtual reality was very much a thing in the 1990s, but the technology was not mature for mass markets. So it kind of went underground into the scientific community, where there have been a couple of studies which have tried to explore how you can use virtual reality for use in medicine and psychology. There's been quite a lot of experiments that show how you can help people with different phobias overcome their phobias, such as agoraphobia, the fear of open places, or arachnophobia, the fear of spiders. So I think there are quite a lot of studies which says things about working with VR in the medicine and psychology sectors, but I think there has not been any grand-scale virtual realities happening in education up until maybe this point.
Okay. Great, thanks. So final question, and also then also a final comment from myself regarding this. Plume, I assume that's the full name or if it's an abbreviation. So Plume has asked if you know anything about the virtual reality platform Daydream, and the link for that is in the chat. I've just had a look at it. It says it's a platform for high-quality mobile virtual reality coming in fall 2016. Is that something you're aware of and you know more about?
No, I haven't heard of that one, but it seems like there's a lot of virtual reality companies popping up at the moment because the technology is so hyped up. And I think that most of these companies will never deliver a product to the market. The product will be very underwhelming. But some of these products, some of these ideas might be very innovative and also be used for educational purposes at some point. But I think that most virtual reality companies we hear about today will be gone in a couple of years. But of course, I think every platform and every new company is interesting because everybody has their own perspectives and own ideas of how you can use virtual reality for games or education.
Okay, fantastic, Jorund. We're going to have to leave it at that. Thanks for everybody's questions. Thanks for your answers. As I just mentioned, one last comment from me. I'm really looking forward to the day when I can walk via virtual reality through my Minecraft world. I've seen someone actually do that through some form of hack. So if you are also working in Minecraft, then that's also something I'm sure you'll be able to look forward to. So as Göran said, lots of developments there, lots of interesting new opportunities there, and definitely a field to watch. So thanks a lot again to Göran for that great presentation and for all those answers. Thanks for everybody who's joined the webinar today. And do continue sharing resources and asking questions via the chat via the Facebook group or the forum on the course. And I just see here, Plume has asked Minecraft. I don't understand. Can you repeat or write, please? So just to quickly clarify what I meant there is, imagine you're building your world in Minecraft, and then you put on your virtual reality headset, and you can actually walk through that world via virtual reality. That I could imagine is quite an exciting and interesting experience. How it could be used in an educational context to be seen, but I'm sure it's a very motivating thing for the students as they work with Minecraft. And as I'm sure many of you know, Minecraft has lots of educational opportunities. But that's a topic. Bjorn, I see Minecraft is available for VR in Samsung Gear, and it's great. Okay, so I remember seeing this on some YouTube video, but I thought it was okay, fantastic.
It's very exciting.
Great. Okay, thanks a lot then again, and everybody have a good night, and see you on the course soon.